I remember some years ago, I was working as a communities in schools coordinator back in Chicago, and I had the charge of creating and putting forth this big back to school event at the school where my office was. And of course, I had activities that were friendly for the children and their parents and even just the whole community. Brought in some good names that are known in Chicago that would normally draw a crowd, and a lot of activities for the children. But also, one of the things that I wanted to do was to do a food giveaway, thinking that that food giveaway would be somewhat of a draw, something that would make the people kind of interested. Well, one of my co-workers let me know very directly but yet nicely. She said, Mr. Stanley, they can give you some food. In other words, the demographic, the clients that we were serving in that neighborhood, which was in Inglewood, by the way, she was letting me know food isn't necessarily a thing that you need to focus on trying to give them. Don't come into this situation with your middle class mindset thinking that giving people food is going to draw them. She was letting me know that most of those that we served had resources through government, state, federal, whatever, that they could give us food. They could give us some food. They probably had more than us in terms of that. And that was through, link cards. In California they call it EBT and all of that, but back in Chicago it's link. So they had all that. And I've been thinking about that today. They can give us some food. In California, many, in fact I would say most of the homeless, specifically looking at that demographic, can give us some food. They're not necessarily in need of a plate of food. They're not necessarily in need of hot dogs, hamburgers, and chips. They can get that for themselves. Push come to shove, because many of them know how to tap into those resources. And most of them, I will bet, they have it. They do have it. And I'm bringing that up because lots of times we who come from these church mindsets, these synagogue mindsets, these assembly mindsets, we come into the situation thinking, oh, let's help these poor, destitute people. Let's give them some food, this, that, and the other. They can give us food. They've got that. What we need to be offering them is something deeper. We really need to be offering them YAHUAH. We really need to be offering them this word. And not just, the word being blared out through the intercom and through speakers out on street corners. But I'm talking about the word lived. Us exemplifying the word. If we are the children of Yasharal, of Yasharo, then our walk must reflect it. In other words, we need not shun away from those who might have some smells to them, who might have stains in their clothing, who might be speaking a little loudly, those who might be laid across the train seats on the subway. Even those who might be kind of standoffish, as they're next to their shopping cart full of numerous different types of things, stuff that we may consider junk or trash, but to them it's valuable. And it probably is valuable because a lot of them might have their pictures or whatever, things from their personal lives packed up within those shopping carts and crates and so forth. It's important to say hello to them. Just as a man a few days ago said to me as I was passing by him, and something told me, just stop and speak to the man. And I stopped and I spoke to him. And in speaking to him, I also gave him $1. That's all I had on me was $1. He wasn't asking for any money, but something just said, give him $1. And I told him, I said, you know what? I said, if I had a 5 on me, I would give that to you. And I was really thinking, I made myself laugh because I was like, I wonder if he's got Cash App, because I could just got a Cash App and $5. And he might have had Cash App. But He told me outright with very slurred speech. I don't know if the slurring was because he had had a stroke, some sort of medical condition. I don't know if he was on drugs, if he was inebriated in some way. I don't know if it was a combination of things, but slurred speech. He said to me, he said, the fact that you stopped and spoke to me means more to me than the money. And when he said that, I was like, whoa. I was like, okay. And he went on to tell me, actually he told me before he made the statement about the money not being a big factor, about my speaking to him being more important. Before he got to that point, he had told me about how this one lady, would come by and allow her dog to defecate, to poop, right there by the spot where he sleeps. And he considers that spot out on the sidewalk, a bus stop rather. He considers that bus stop his home. That's his place. And so the fact that this woman would allow her dog to come and defecate on his home, he took offense to that. And so when he said, hey, you're stopping to speak, you acknowledging me, you respecting me, that means more to me than the money. They can give us some food. We don't need to worry about that. We need to show love. We need to show respect. That's what I'm learning. We need to show that. Talk to them. They're still human. They're still the Most High's. In fact, let me give you something. If you go over into the book of Romans, the 9th chapter, verse 29 is kind of a key for me because that's something that the Most High spoke to me about. But even before verse 29, I would say start maybe like Romans chapter 9, verse 20, and go on down. Maybe even start before that. But you're going to see some scriptures that relate to the fact that the Most High takes from the same lump of clay, he makes that which is good, and he makes that which is set for destruction. That which he values, and even those things that he establishes for destruction, he takes from the same lump of clay. In other words, we're all his, and we're all made for a purpose. We all have a specific function, a specific function we all have. So, and that's by his hands, by his creation. So acknowledge his creation. Talk to your brothers and your sisters, those that you can talk to. Yeah, I know that there's some spirits within some of them who, you can't talk to them. Some of them are very rebellious. They might even attack you for speaking, but the Most High gives you an inclination of to whom you can speak and how far you need to be standing away and all of that good stuff. So if the Most High says talk to them, if he says smile to them, if he says pass them the dollar, pass them a quarter, whatever, do it. There is a barakah, a blessing in obedience. They can give us some food. We need to give them love beyond just food. Here's something else about they can give us some food. They can give us wisdom. They can give us some knowledge. They can give us some understanding. That man telling me that my speaking to him, acknowledging his presence, still acknowledging him as a man, as a creation of the Most High, as a human being, better still, as the Most High's being, my acknowledging him as such was more important to him. That validated him. That reminded me. That gave me the wisdom, the understanding that I was hearing rightly from the Most High, to acknowledge that man, because that gave that man something he needed at that moment, and it gave me something I needed at that moment. It validated that I was hearing correctly from the Most High, and that, through being obedient, it seemed that I was able to speak something into someone else to help build them up in a way. Sure, I believe a blessing might have come to me as a result of that, but more importantly to me, I believe there was a blessing that was given to that man through my obedience to the Most High. They can give us some food. So the wisdom came. The food came through that wisdom that the Most High gave me through that man's communication, that, hey, you're speaking to me, you're acknowledging me was very important. That was more important to me than money. Something that my friend Keith and I were talking about, I think last week. When the stuff hits the fan, when when the grid goes down, the power's cut, the money's value is cut, and money means nothing else. And people's homes perhaps are getting broken into and vandalized and violated, and other humans, or what we call humans, are attacking other people just to do so. In fact, Hezekiah has a song that talks about that. When it comes to that episode happening in our lives, and again, you're not having that sense of safety that you've had most of your life, because you won't have the electricity, you won't have access to some of the resources that you've had, the money, the silver, the gold, the banks. Y'all, you're going to find that probably some of these people who have slept out on the streets for a number of years, the homeless, many of them are going to be the ones that we're going to have to go to and say, hey, how do I make it out here? Because some of us have been very sheltered to live indoors. Washing machines, mattresses, beds, doors and plastered walls, that we can hide behind and so forth. But these other ones, these other brothers and sisters of ours, they have been out here on these streets. They have been living in ravines. They have been living in the bush. They have been living out on the concrete sidewalks, using the street corners as their pillows, the concrete curbs as their pillows. We're going to probably end up coming to some of them saying, look, help me to make it. Show me what I need to do to survive out here. They can give us some food. They can give us some knowledge. They can give us some understanding. They can give us some wisdom, is what I'm saying. That's the real food right there. So let me nutshell it and close it by saying this. Here's the nutshell, here's the close. Let us not be high-minded in thinking that our giving to the poor is such a great thing, and we leave out popping our collars saying, oh, I've done such a wonderful thing. I went out and served a meal. I gave some people some old canned goods. I served a few loaves of bread. I went and bought up a bunch of groceries and dropped the bags off, or I prepared the food and said, be fed, my brother. That is wonderful in its place, especially if the Most High has told you to do so and you have been obedient to do it. But to think that a lot of these folks don't already have that resource for themselves, you would be crazy to think that. And likewise, on a deeper level, to think that a lot of these folks whom you think are beneath you, whom you think you should not be touching and rubbing elbows with, to think that they don't have understanding, that they don't have knowledge, that they can't provide wisdom, that they can't feed your intellect, that they cannot feed your spirit, to think that is very unwise, because they too can give us food just like we give them food. I pray this message is understandable. I pray that this message is relatable, and I pray that this message reaches somebody's heart, somebody's ruach, in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. They can give us some food. Amen.